All right, let's get to. We're going to go to Elaine Parker. I know I've got some people on hold that want to talk to Elaine, so we're going to be merging in for calls in a few minutes. So, Amy, that's one. Hang in there. Elaine Parker joining us. She is the president of the Keep America Action Fund, and she's part of our panel on election night, Tuesday night, which will be at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Buckhead at GOP headquarters. Elaine, welcome.
Hey, John. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I know a lot of people in Georgia have called in. They're very upset about the hearing yesterday, the fact that we can't get a special session. Their vote was stolen. The fraud in Atlanta is just, in Fulton County, is just beyond the pale. It's like Giuliani said yesterday, there's now, it goes from election fraud to a cover-up. It's that bad. But we got an election Tuesday, right? And we got to have a huge game day turnout. The president coming to Dalton, that's just south of Chattanooga, on Monday. What is your message to Georgians to save these 2 Senate seats?
Well, John, as you know, our campaign, Keep America, America, we had 2 buses in Georgia the week before Christmas. Traveling between the 2 buses, we traveled about 6,000 miles. We had 20 stops all over the state, meeting with people, having rallies. We had former Governor Sonny Perdue, who is also David Perdue's first cousin, and he was at all of our stops. And I met with Georgians, and I talked to them about their concerns and their worries. And my response to them is, I know you're upset about November 3rd, and I know you have doubts about what's happening and what happens there. But the focus has to be this election for these 2 Senate seats because, to bring in a sports analogy, if you don't show up to the game, you forfeit. And so you've got to go out and vote. As concerned as you are, if the votes aren't there on the Republican side, we don't even have a chance at fighting. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this election. We were helping recruit people to be poll watchers. There's a ton of groups who are doing poll watching. There's so many things happening behind the scenes to ensure that this election is going to be safe and fair. But we do need Georgians to show up. A protest vote isn't going to help the cause. And if they can get out there in spite of their concerns and vote, the other things, the protections and counting all the fair and legal votes, that will happen. We can win if everybody shows up to vote. So we need them. And people are concerned, and they have valid concerns, and I don't discount that one bit. And I heard a lot of them along the road, but they're also more concerned about the future of this country.
Well, and look, I still think that Trump is going to have a second term. So this is the way I'm looking at it right now, Elaine, and I'm not sure that I hold a majority view, but I believe that when it's all said and done, he's going to put his hand on that family Bible on January 20th. I believe that. I also believe if he's president again for a second term, he certainly needs a majority in the Senate because he's going to start the first 2 years without a majority in the House. They're simply going to impeach him again. So what's the point of winning on January 20th if there's a democratically controlled Senate and there's nothing that he's going to be able to do? Everything will get blocked. So I don't know what the objective of that is. So that's why it's critical that we turn out. And I know a lot of people are upset. And look, I've been there, 25 cities, 7 weeks. I get it. I've talked to thousands of people. They're upset. And we're all upset over it. And all the truth is coming out. The second hearing in the Senate yesterday was unbelievable. The level of fraud that was committed. 2 things. How are we going to stop it on January 5th? And when Trump gets inaugurated for a second term, do you really want Chuck Schumer as the majority leader? I mean, that's really what you have to look at. Or if you're in a 50-50 Senate, Pence is going to have to break every tie. You lose one Quisling, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, you're not going to get anything done. How does that make sense, Elaine?
It doesn't. And John, there's 74 million people who voted for President Trump and feel exactly how you do. And my message to them and the people in Georgia is that regardless of who is inaugurated on January 20th, that Senate must remain in the majority of Republicans. Because if it's a President Trump, you just laid out all the reasons why he's got to have the Republicans in the majority. But if it's a President Biden, the only thing that protects us from all of these policies and literally changing the face of America and who we are and how we live and the American dream. I mean, the American dream is at stake. We have to keep the Senate red. So either way, whatever happens on January 20th, we have to keep these 2 Senate seats. And you're absolutely right. We could lose on any vote. We're always in jeopardy of losing Collins or Murkowski or, there's always, those possibles that we could lose in a vote. Right. So we've got to keep these 2 seats.
All right, we're going to take some phone calls. Elaine Parker with us, and she's Elaine is the president of Keep America Action Fund. She's been in Georgia. She was on the bus tour with us. She was there for a week. She talked to hundreds of people, so she gets it, right? This isn't like somebody that is from Washington, that is, asking you to spend money on ads and then they buy their 5th yacht, right? Very different. Elaine's been there on the ground. And I got to tell you something else, Elaine, if I could just, throw this out there. Elaine is on the ground. She was with me in the bus tour in Iowa that they put on. She was with me in the bus tour in New Hampshire during the primaries. We went to some diner at 5 a.m. together and did a show there in very tough quarters. She's been out in tents with me at rallies. I mean, she gets it. She goes on the ground and she talks to people just like I do. Let's open the phone lines up here. Let's get to Amy in Atlanta. Amy, if you could turn your radio down. You're on with John and Elaine. Amy, go ahead.
Hi, John. Good morning. Hi, Elaine. So I know, John, we've been texting back and forth this week, and I really want to, as a Georgian, support what Ellen has said. And I want to speak to the Georgians out there who listened to the hearing yesterday, who really, I just kind of snickered when Ellen said, all eyes are on this election, because apparently when they were able to connect to the internet yesterday in the hearing to show that the Dominion voting machine that I voted on Tuesday was live on the internet, there's a lot of eyes on this election. And probably more than we even know about. But I do want to just say this. I was enraged on Tuesday when I went in and voted. The guy wanted me to wear a mask. He wouldn't let me take a picture of my ballot after I printed it off, which I did anyway. I was I really didn't understand how I was feeling until I really realized I didn't really know if my vote was even going to be cast for Kelly and David. That's who I unfortunately voted for. I felt like I was, I feel like I'm being kind of vote shamed if I don't vote. And I really spoke out in the waiting area. I walked out there and I was so upset. I just vocally said, this whole thing is the biggest sham, not only on the American people, but on the citizens of Georgia. And people looked around. And I just kept going. I said, we are lambs being led to the slaughter. We have no idea what's going on here. And I kind of walked out and I came back in and I said, oh, by the way, Trump won. And several people stood up and started clapping. And I think the voters in Georgia, I want to appeal to those who don't want to go, who have dug their heels in like I did and said, I'm not going no matter what. I think that we, no matter if we don't know what's going to happen to our vote once they put our printed ballot into the Dominion system, I think we still need to show up. We need to show up and let the chips fall where they may. I dare say, I bet Kelly and David, if they lose, especially Kelly, who, by the way, Georgia voters had never voted her into office. She was appointed by that inmate Kemp, who's going to jail, by the way. I guarantee you, on January the 6th, if she doesn't get in, she's going to be yelling to the ceilings about the same thing that Trump is yelling about right now. Mm-hmm. Guaranteed. And she's not said one word about it. Mm-hmm. We've not heard one thing from her, but yet we hear all these calls about vote for me, I'm pro-Trump, I'm supporting Trump, and I keep hearing all this stuff on the internet that she's spoken out. She has not. And we still have not heard from her. Or David, by the way. Mm-hmm. But David's got enough time to run down to Florida this weekend and play golf with Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. But yet he's not spoken out. And it's really enraging. But I guarantee you that they'll both be piping up on January the 6th saying the election was stolen from them if if they're not elected.
Well, that's the irony of it. If they lose, or they're losing, because what's likely to happen is we're on our show and it's midnight and they're ahead by 300,000, and it looks like it's it's going to be a good night. We're going to hold the Senate, and we break down. We go to bed. We get up. I get 3 hours of sleep. I get up at 4, and I turn on TV, and they're losing because 300,000 votes in the middle of the night came into Fulton and DeKalb County again, because they're going to do the same thing again. And so I think that's why people are frustrated, Elaine, is we're doing really nothing to stop the fraud again. So I want to give Elaine Parker here a chance to respond to you, Amy. And by the way, Amy, thank you for sharing that. Elaine?
Hey, Amy, thanks for joining us, and thank you for going out and voting. It is absolutely imperative that folks like yourselves who feel, this frustrated still show up and still cast that vote. And God bless you for speaking out there. And there are a lot of people in your camp and everything like that. But it is so important to show up and vote. And I understand that Georgians feel like Kelly and David should be out campaigning about the Dominion issues from November 3rd for President Trump. And there are some cases where I've heard them talk about it. There are areas where they've spoken out about, but they do have to focus on the issues of their election. Otherwise,
Elaine, with all due respect, Elaine, this is exactly what Georgians don't want to hear, is these talking points. They don't want to hear that, Elaine, and you're losing people by doing that. You really are. You need to validate what Georgians are saying, and I'm not talking about this feeling, emotion. I am demanding that Kelly and David speak out in support of the election fraud that happened in their state. I do not want to hear what they're going to do for me on January the 6th or the day after or whatever happens. I want to hear what they are doing for the constituents in Georgia right now. This is with all the, you're saying the same bullet points that Corey called in and said when I was so enraged, and I had to call and talk to him as well. You guys are missing the point, Ellen. You're really missing the point. If this is what you're going out and telling the constituents in Georgia as you travel around my state, with all due respect, those people are not going to show up. You need to validate their concerns. I don't care what Kelly wants to do with her campaign.
I told them to go vote. That's what I told them to do.
That's that's right, Ellen. You're doing exactly what everybody else is doing to us, and you're vote shaming us. And
I don't think Elaine is doing that. I'm going to jump in here, Amy. I don't think Elaine is doing that at all. Elaine was, unlike some of the others, Elaine was on the bus with me, and Elaine heard the cries and the pleas of Georgia voters for a week. And in the 15 stops that we made and part of my 25-city tour, so Elaine has heard this. I think we're all saying the same thing, okay? Nobody's more outraged about what happened than me. I mean, I'm taking on debt, my wife and I, to buy a radio station there that it's 63. There's no way that I should do that. But as my wife said to me over Christmas, John, if not us, who? I mean, that's just the bottom line. So we're all on the same page here. We understand where you're coming from, but Amy, you went and voted, right? And as upset as you were, you went and voted, and and so what we're all saying the same thing. Go out and vote. You got to go out and vote. We understand the frustration, and look, I believe that had Kelly Loeffler come out and said, you know what, I've seen enough, and did the Josh Hawley, and said I've seen enough, and come January 6th when I'm reelected, I'm going to stand up there and I am going to vote not to certify Georgia. I don't know about the other states, but I'm voting for that because I've seen all I can see. We have to just draw a line in the sand and stop it. I think she wins by 7 or 8. So I think it's bad politics. I don't know who they're listening to, but we're all saying the same thing. We have to vote.
100%. And I want Georgians that are in my position to go out and cast that vote. And, no matter what, you've just got to, hold your nose. Somebody, has sacrificed for us to be able to do that, regardless of what happens. We need to go out. So if there is fraud and they do show up the next day and want something done about it, there is a mark that was cast for your name. Today's the last day of early voting.
Right.
Yes, and so I realized that at this stage of the game, Kelly and David weren't going to say anything. They were too concerned about themselves. And that's, Ellen, I apologize for stepping on you, but that's my point, is when people speak up and say, well, Kelly and David are concerned about their campaigns, that really is a trigger point for us Georgians, because they should be concerned about us and what's going on on the ground in Georgia. So, John, thank you. I really believe that if you had not shown up in Georgia when you did, the hearing yesterday probably would not have gotten the publicity that it did. And so I want to thank you for doing that. And Georgians are here to support you as well when you officially move down here. So Happy New Year to everybody, and thanks for taking my call.
Amy, thank you. And thank you for voting, and thank you for holding everybody accountable. And you're spot on. I mean, I think this has been a drastic mistake that these two candidates have made, listening to the consultants that are buying yachts like Karl Rove in Washington that don't have a clue as to what's going on. But now we're at D-Day, right? Now it's done. They're not going to do it. It is what it is, and we got to play the hand we're dealt. But Trump is going to get inaugurated. And thank you. And I don't even think, had I not been there, to be honest, Amy, I don't even think they would have had the second hearing. They wouldn't even had it. I mean, we have put so much pressure on politicians down there to be held accountable to the level of fraud that went on. But Amy, thank you. Elaine, I'm out of time. I want to thank you for being with us. Elaine Parker, thank you as always. And the difference in Elaine is Elaine went to Georgia with me on the bus for a week and talked to hundreds and hundreds of Georgians. So, Elaine, thanks for that. It's easy to sit.
Thanks, Don.
It's easy to sit.
Thanks, Don. Hey,
it's easy to sit in Washington. Go ahead.
Just real quick, John. You're right. I'm not part of the campaign. I'm not part of Kelly and David's campaigns, and I would have different advice if I were. But my advice to voters still is to go out and vote. And if they're going to go out and campaign, on President Trump, I'm not sure that that's a winning message either. I don't know. I'm not on the inside of the campaign. But I heard Georgians' concerns about two things. One, the election on November 3rd and whether or not it was a legal election. But the other thing I heard very loud is their concern about the future of America and why, and that they understand what's on the line. And that's my point. It's not talking points. I'm not part of the campaign. I don't have talking points. But I do care about this country, and I know that it rests on the shoulders of the people who live in Georgia.